And we continue to ask the experts all weekend long, every weekend, right here on News 96.5. But you know what makes the shows complete? It's you. We can't do them without you. And your participation is welcome. We urge you to participate at 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696. You could text us at 21232. If you're totally unfamiliar with that, when I say 21232 and you're waiting for a phone number or a contact name or whatever, what you do is open up your smartphone, go to the messaging feature. That's that little envelope right there. And when you press on that, it's going to say recipient or contact or whatever. Just put 21232 in that line. That's all, 21232. And then in the body of the message, you will have about 150 characters, including spaces. So make it brief, but we'll get to the point on it, and we may ask you for a follow-up. It may take you 2 or 3 texts to get it here, but that way you get your question posed to our panel today, and then you can go on about your business. All things legal today. Any legal question that you've got, this is called Law 2020, and it's brought to you by your friends at the offices of the BCN Law Firm. They can be contacted during the week at 352-394-2103 or 855-LAW-2020, 855-LAW-2020. Wade Boyette, Heath Nalos, Brian Monk. On the show before, we've had Eileen Mazinetz, and today we are really, really thrilled to have a lady on here, Kristen Nalos, who is a transactional attorney. I have no idea what a transactional attorney does. Hi, Kristen. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you? Thank you.
Doing very well. And don't forget, these shows are on YouTube, and I think you'll find an extra treat when you watch this show because Kristen is not only an accomplished attorney, but quite beautiful. If I may say that, Heath, about your wife.
Oh, you're too kind. Thank you.
Okay, very good.
I'm blushing.
What does a transactional attorney actually do? I've never heard that.
A lot of real estate and commercial real estate. It's a lot of buying and selling businesses, that sort of thing. A lot of contractual work.
Mm-hmm. You know, I find it so amazing that people will get into a $200,000, $250,000, $300,000 transaction, the biggest thing of most of our lives, and they'll do it without the aid of an attorney.
It amazes me every day, and they come to me after they've signed everything. Like, I think I need an attorney. And I look at everything. I'm like, are you kidding me? You didn't come to see me beforehand? Because now, once they've already signed everything, they're in this deal, I have to do some backtracking to try to get them out of some things that they shouldn't have signed or to tweak it or, to make it a little bit more better for them. And had they come to see me before they entered into this agreement, it would have been so much easier and have been so much cheaper on their part. But a lot of times they think they can just go it on their own.
I would even think that as they're saying, okay, I'm going to sell my house, even before they sign a listing agreement, shouldn't they have their attorney at least look at that listing agreement to see, 1, can I get out? Number 2, what am I trapped into? What am I getting out of this?
Absolutely. That's a listing agreement is just as important as any other contract you're going to sign because, typically you're bound to them for 6 months to a year, and you just need to see some of the things that you're giving up and how much you are, what commission you're paying to your realtor because there's different, you can kind of negotiate. So it's important to have your attorney look at that.
And it's a very minimal price to have an attorney.
Is it?
Review a contract or a listing agreement. It's typically under an hour. It's a very small charge.
And think about how much a person could lose on a transaction of that size. I mean, you're talking, what are some of the horror stories that you've come across where people have come back to you and say, Kristen, Heath, I need help. Help me out here.
Oh, gosh, now you're putting me on the spot.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Let me go back and think of some. I'm sure there's numerous ones. People sign these contracts, these as-is contracts, and they don't realize what they're getting into. They don't realize what an as-is contract is. Basically, you sign this contract, the house is falling apart, and you're about to close on it. You're stuck. You've signed this as-is contract, and that's basically it. You can't do anything without being sued. You've got to buy this house.
Do you also give advice, like if somebody comes to you and say, Kristen, I'm about to buy or sell a house, and what are some of the things I need to watch out for? Where are the potholes in the road?
Oh, gosh.
I mean, do you give them that advice?
Oh, certainly, yes.
Great.
And most of the time when they come in to see me, they have a contract in hand.
Ooh.
Hopefully they haven't signed it, but I would say 8 out of 10 times they have signed it already, so it's kind of too late for me to get at that point. But it's much better, and I have a good relationship with a lot of clients in town and realtors, and and a lot of my realtor clients have their clients come in to see me before they sign it, just to have them say, this is my realtor, I trust her. I mean, this is my attorney, I trust her. Have her look over the contract before you sign anything. And like my husband said, it is a very minimal charge, a couple $100 to have me look over the contract before you sign anything.
Well, Heath, that's where it comes back to the community involvement, the long time standing relationships that the BCN law firm has had in this community. I mean, Kristen, your father is a long-time, well-known man around town, well-respected man around town. Today, where's Wade Boy at today? What's he doing?
Wade is at a Disney CrossFit Challenge, and his team is now in 3rd place, which is quite amazing. It's quite a big event.
And so it's actually, I see you guys always out there in the community events. You did a Dancing with the Stars thing for charity recently.
I did. We raised $40,000 for charity, so it was a great event.
$40,000. So I think that comes back to what Kristen was saying, that basically, they know the realtors. They know the lay of the land. They know the court systems and how the court systems will react in Lake, Orange, Sumter, Seminole counties, all their offices. Let me give you locations, by the way, while we're doing that. Winter Park, Claremont, Lakeland, and a brand new office in the Villages, right about 2 miles from my office.
We're very excited by the Villages office. It's going to be a great location. We're looking forward to getting involved in the community. We actually, one of my attorneys, Melissa, was in the 5K Harbor in the Hills race this weekend and did a good job up there. My wife's running the Disney 10K Tower Tier Challenge next weekend.
It's a 10-miler.
10-miler, I'm
Wow.
sorry.
Get it straight.
Oh, my goodness gracious. 10 miles.
It's fun. It's a fun event.
For her, that's nothing, really.
Tim, our producer, Tim, it's about 10 yards to the kitchen, and sometimes I don't want to do that.
That's a lot of work. That's some major investment there getting to the kitchen.
Especially when you're carrying Zephyr Hills water. I mean, come on, it's a big weight. Hey, how long does it take? We have a text here. How long does it take to evict a tenant for non-payment of rent? And this goes back to an earlier call we had on an earlier show today. So what are we talking about?
It's not a clear-cut answer. I mean, first you have to give them a notification. You have to post it. And if they haven't paid the rent, they have 3 days. You give them a notice, you post it on their door. They have 3 days to pay the rent. And if they do not, you can't just kick them out. You have to file a lawsuit. And then I believe it's after you file the lawsuit, they shorten the amount of time. They have 5 days to answer the lawsuit. But if they interpose any defenses or put up the rent, it could delay it. So, I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not a clear-cut answer. But most of the time, most of the tenant evictions I've handled, once you give them that notification, like the 3-day notification, pay the rent or you're out, and then you file the lawsuit, usually they don't answer. They just evacuate. But it's not always the case. And, sometimes tenants can know how to work the system.
Yeah, I bet they do.
And if you do try to throw them out, they can come back and sue you for attorney's fees and costs. So you got to be very careful following the rules.
You do not want to go in there. Some people say go change the locks. You can't do that under Florida laws. You have to follow. You have to go through the whole court procedure.
And some people get crazy and do things like you said, change the locks or go turn off the power, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I know you can't do that.
That's a very bad idea.
So suddenly you're the guy that's in the hot seat.
Oh yeah, you're the guy. They turn it back on. That's when the defenses come in, and they some of them know how to work the system. It's unfortunate.
And some lawyers specialize in representing tenants being treated wrongfully, and they come back and sue you for attorney's fees and costs. It could be thousands of dollars. So you got to be very careful.
All right, very good. And that's where the BCN law firm comes in, 352-394-2103 or 855-LAW-2020. Every time I say that, I want to sing it, and I'm not a singer. That's why we have Tim in here. 855-LAW-2020. You hear their commercials all the time. And it's great to get to know each and every person in the firm. That's why I like doing this show. Okay, you can text us just like Otis did there. You can text us at 21232 or give us a call at 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696. This is kind of a weird question, but I know you're all a big happy family down there at BCN Law Firm. But husbands and wives who are attorneys, how do you leave that at home and not sit there at the dinner table and say, well, I want to tell you about the Simpson case right here that we're going over?
That's tough, Bob. It
Is
really
it?
is. Sometimes it is. But I specialize in my practice areas of personal injury and insurance, and she does more real estate and corporate work. So we try to keep a separation there.
And
I will tell you, he's a lot better at that. Better at separating it than I am. I want to talk about it constantly.
Do
He's
you?
like, yeah. It's like, no, just stop it. We talk about it at work, and our offices are right next to each other, and I'll go in there periodically and say, what do you think about this? And then I come home and what do you think about this? And so, but he's a lot better at separating it than I am.
My theory is once it's dinner time, we stop talking about work and
That's it?
relax a little bit. Yes.
and go on to married life, as it were. All right, we're going to take a break, and we want you to join the program right now at 855-297-9696. If you have any questions, and again, we realize that legal issues are somewhat sensitive. You don't have to use your real name, okay? And if you do text us, we will not give out any type or any reference to your phone number. We'll just say, hey, this is the text, and you'll know what it's all about, okay? Go ahead and give us a call right now, 855-297-9696. I've got 7 open lines right now, so give me a call right here at News 96.5. We're back, yes indeed, and this is Law 2020. Yeah, it's the BCN law firm. They've got offices in Winter Park for you right here in town. How about Claremont? That's right, Lakeland, and now a brand new shiny office on Highway 466 in the Villages, the fastest growing community, by the way, in the world. And that's as documented by the U.S. government. So how about that? So they're right up there in the thick of things right now. We have with us Heath Nalos today, and we have Kristen Nalos, who is a transactional attorney. Heath, what are your specialties again for everybody at home?
My background is mostly personal injury and insurance claims, including sinkholes, homeowner claims, fire claims.
And there's so much in Central Florida that is different from anywhere in the world when it comes to personal injury cases.
And also sinkhole cases are unique to Florida, so most people don't understand what they're dealing with.
I guess not. You come from another state and you come down here and you go, sinkholes, alligators, hurricanes. What did I move to? But they had to put up with forest fires or tornadoes or freezes or, snow avalanches where they were before. So every place comes with a little bit of negative.
Every place is unique. In California, landslides are covered on the policies.
Is that right?
In Florida, it's either sinkhole or not a sinkhole, so it's covered or not covered. So it's very unique state by state. Everywhere's different, really.
Or flood insurance.
Flood insurance is very unique, too. Yes.
What a mess flood insurance is. Sandy, what's your question?
My husband and I were, when we retired, took a cross-country trip and stayed in California right near the Mexican border. We had lived together for several years, and we went over into Mexico, and we decided to get married. Is it legal in the United States? Got married in Tijuana, because now it could benefit us to be married in some ways at our age.
It sounds like a good time, Sandy.
Yes, that was in 2003.
Okay, I'm not a family law attorney, but depends on who married you is the answer. Were you married by a civil representative of the government or by a priest or who?
He was an attorney that was him and his son, and they have a big sign up where they do marriages and divorces, and we did ask that question, do we have to get a license there? And they said no, and we paid to get married, and they mailed us back a document of marriage that has a seal on it.
Well, Sandy,
but it was filed in Mexico somewhere near what they call Baja, California.
Yeah, it sounds like it's valid. I would ask you to call Brian Monk at my office. He's our family law specialist, and he can answer that question for you. My gut reaction is probably valid, but I would rather you call Brian to talk to him about it.
Okay, that phone number for you, Sandy, would be 352-394-8255. 2103 or 855-LAW-2020, 855-LAW-2020. And if you sing it to your phone, it may go ahead and call it. I'm not sure. All right, let's see here. The person whose phone number ends in an 07, could you please finish your text with another text that tells us a little bit more about what the problem seems to be? Marie, let's go with you right now. Thank you for calling in. The number, 855-297-9696. How can we help you?
Well, good morning, everyone, and good afternoon for those that have been up early, like myself. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm basing on just the brief moment that I turned on the radio. I heard Kristen say she did contractual or involved with contracts in real estate. Did I get that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. I'm in the process of selling a home. No buyer. It's just on the market. And I need to know, and a good point is that someone looks over the contract. It is a manufactured home. It's a high-end in a gated community. If you offer those services, does it make a difference if it's a manufactured home versus a regular home? And what would be the closest location to nearby the Daytona area?
It would not make a difference if a manufactured home versus a home. It's just a real estate contract. You're closing. And the closest location probably to Daytona would...
We have a Winter Park office, but we can probably do this by email and phone calls to make it easy for you.
Right.
Okay. One of the situations here is that they have to have the closing, even though I don't have a real estate company involved on the property, because it is a gated community, they have to do the approval at the very end in this location. So it may end up being one or two closings at this point, one with the company that's listed with, and then one for the final approval at this gated community that has a real estate office.
I'm a little confused. I would assume there's going to be one closing, and maybe is it the HOA that has to approve? Let's say has to approve the buyers that are buying in there.
They have a manager. They have an HOA, so it has to go through that closing process as well. And then, of course, they have like a fee for administrative and background check and all that's involved. That's why I'm saying two closings, because that's what I was informed of.
Well, I'm not that familiar with it, but from what you're telling me, it sounds as if they're just the party that has to approve them, make sure that they're credit worthy, that they don't have any criminal, some huge criminal problems on their background, that sort of thing, make sure they're okay to live in this community. And then they give that okay. Of course, they're going to charge their fee because they are going to do a background check, probably do a financial check as well. But then you'd have the closing agent, be it an attorney or a title company, who's going to do that closing for you.
And we do have mobile closers, too, who come out to Daytona and close the property, too.
So it sounds like right now, it is on the market. Are you doing it for sale by owner?
It is. And now, did I understand you correct that an attorney or a title company can do this closing?
They can, but of course, I'm an attorney who handles a lot of real estate closings, and we charge the same amount as a title company would, and we have a lot more expertise, and I would always recommend an attorney, and I can.
We would be happy to close it, and we have people come out to your place and close it out there too. So.
That'd be great. All right. Now, if you want to continue the conversation, Marie, the law office is open at what time tomorrow, Heath?
At 8:30 in the morning.
Okay. And what is your direct number, Kristen?
It's 352-394-2103.
Okay, Marie, so there you go, 352-394-2103. If you want to talk to Kristen tomorrow, she'd be more than willing to take your call. When you get the receptionist, please tell her that you were on the radio show and that you've established a relationship already. Hey, we've got 4 open lines right now. Use them wisely, 855-297-9696. Any legal question is in bounds today, 855-297-9696. We will be back. Tim brings out the best music in any shows on this station. All right, here we go. Boyette, Cummins, and Nalos, the BCN law firm, comes to you every single Sunday at 12 noon. It's called Law 2020. Today, our special guests are Heath Nalos and his wife, that is Kristen Nalos. She's a transactional attorney and personal injury, all kinds of sinkhole stuff. That's what Heath can help you with. But they have a great general knowledge of the law. They've both been in years and years and years in the business and years of law school as well. And the BCN law firm has been around for a long, long time. 352-394-2103 or 855-LAW-2020, 855-LAW-2020. I've got 6 open lines. Kim is on the only taken line right now. And Kim, how can our attorneys help you?
Okay. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I'm an owner of a townhome in the Orlando Winter Springs area. And my question is, I have a tenant there that, to piggyback the other call, that has passed her credit and her criminal checks for the HOA. And back in March 1st, I assumed from that HOA company that she was approved. But then I found out there's the president of the board also that has been giving her a hard time with a son that's not on the lease. She's the only one on the lease with an adult son that's 22 that comes to the park and visits her. And I think that's causing her not to be approved for some reason. And now, can that, what I'm asking, I guess, is does he have the right to do that?
Well, you're cutting out a little bit, so I'm having a hard time hearing everything that you're saying.
All right, you got the part where I thought she was approved.
Right. She's your tenant in your townhome, and she has an adult son, a 22-year-old adult son that's coming to visit, and you're kind of questioning whether or not that's why you're getting a hard time from the HOA. Am I understanding you?
Not from the HOA. I think it's the board president that lives in the park is giving her a hard time taking pictures when his car's parked. The corner of her tire was on this, or cars have been towed, and they've not put her name on the gate and phone number because of this son. And he might have I think he might have a little bit of a minor record, but can he legally do that? Run a record on this tenant's son someone that's visiting in the park, and give her a hard time.
I'd have to look at the documents to see what the HOA documents say about it. Certainly they cannot discriminate. They cannot harass this person. But I'd have to look and see, get a little bit more information to see what exactly is going on. And we can certainly help you with that. If you could gather together your HOA documents, your townhouse, your condominium declaration, whatever you might have.
But he is allowed to take pictures and generally do what he's doing, I think.
They're allowed to take pictures?
They are, yes.
Oh, of people? Yeah.
Of cars, of people. There's nothing to stop that.
Unusual.
Very not unusual, actually. A lot of HOA presidents take their jobs very, very seriously and end up harassing people, unfortunately.
I imagine you guys have HOA questions come up daily at the law firm.
And we do, and the statute seems to change quite frequently, and the statute's very lengthy, and they differ from co-ops or have a whole set of different statutes than just regular HOAs. But I do get those questions quite often. And
wasn't it about a year ago that the laws in Florida on owners' rights under an HOA were changed a little bit?
They change constantly, Bob.
Do they really?
They do.
Okay.
We had a case in Orange County where an HOA president pulled a gun on somebody at a boat ramp.
That's great. That's kind of like I always tell people if they're going to buy a house, and I'm not a realtor, but I tell people if you're going to buy a house, learn everything you can about the HOA. Go and talk to some of the people who live in the neighborhood, and then drive through there at night and see how much noise there is in that place at night.
And also be ready to run for president when the time comes, because
man,
you can always change things.
There you go. I guess there's a question. All right, now, if you want to join the conversation, it's 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696. You could text us at 21232, 21232. I want to go back a minute to personal injury. because there's been a lot in the news lately about personal injury cases in Florida, and not necessarily the automobile kind. Those are always the ones that seem to be talked about on the radio. But slip and falls in stores and things like that, it's no longer the case that if you slip and fall in a store, they're going to automatically just cut you a check and everybody's going to walk out the door, right?
Not at all. It all depends on what you fell on, how much time the store had to figure out the problem and fix the problem.
And what is the liability of a store if they're like mopping the floor when customers are there? Or we had a call on one of the shows a few weeks ago about somebody was going through and they felt like the aisles were too crowded with merchandise that was being unloaded from these carts, and they tripped over one of the carts.
That seems to be an open, obvious condition if they've tripped over a cart. But you can raise an argument that the stores are designed to make you look everywhere else while you're walking to sell things. So it can cause a distraction to you when you're walking down the aisles.
Very interesting. Anyway, Heath, you're right into all this. Okay. All right. Very good. We are taking your calls right now at 855-297-9696. We have a caller standing by, and that's 855-297-9696. Kristen's been trying to think of a horror story all during the show. She says she's got many, but none of them are coming to mind right away. What is the first thing that you think a person needs to think about? Now, I'm a little bit worried about Marie because she's selling her own home, her own mobile home. And I'm worried about, how did she make up the contract? Hopefully that's something she's going to cover with you.
Certainly, I hope so. I mean, you can go online and you can pull off contracts online, but there is just just about as good as the paper that they're written on. Some are decent, some are not so decent. And and again, for a nominal fee, an attorney can look at it. An attorney can give you a contract that we've written, and with our expertise, we know what the pitfalls are, what to look out for. So I would strongly advise for individuals that when they are trying to sell it by themselves to hire an attorney before they enter into any contract.
Yeah, and Heath, I think you and I've had the conversation that when you go online or you go to the big box office store and you buy some agreement and it says just fill in the blanks, is that for every state? I mean, are there nuances in Florida that other states don't follow?
Every state is different, Bob.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're buying a contract that may be written in California. It's not going to be valid in Florida.
There you go. And it's that way, I'm sure, with wills.
Right. I mean, it's a simple thing. So when I have people a lot of snowbirds that are retiring to Florida and they've had their will done and somewhere up in north, and they come down here, and I strongly advise them just to have a Florida attorney just to review it, because there are different nuances to the laws in the state of Florida than there are in every state's different. Like for instance, to sign a deed in the state of Florida, you have to have it notarized and you have to have 2 witnesses. And if you do not have those requirements, your deed's not valid. Ooh. And then other states are different. Some states might only require 1 witness, but in Florida you have to have 2 witnesses and a notary. The same thing with the signing of a will. It's similar to that as well. So, I always tell people to have to let them look it over.
And some of our clients bring in 10-year-old wills to review. It's easier for us and cheaper to actually give them a brand new will that we know the document, that we create, that we know it's good, than reviewing a will written by somebody else a decade ago.
And over 10 years, family dynamics change. Maybe the son-in-law is no longer the son-in-law. Maybe he's gone, the daughter-in-law, whatever. And one of the things that comes to mind when we talk about real estate transactions is people come from other states that have no idea what the homestead law is. They think, I get an exemption of so many $1,000s because I'm living here now. But there's so much more to Homestead Act than just that deduction on your taxes, right?
There is. I mean, as far as when you go to sell your home, there's certain tax ramifications you have to look at. How long you've lived in the home, you have to live there for a certain number of years before you have to pay capital gains on it. There's a lot to look at. And
isn't it different than other states? I've had this question come up, and I don't know the answer. And the surviving wife having a life estate in the house, does that ever come to your desk?
It does.
It's like if she's the second mom, and the kids had a different mom, and the dad was going to leave them the house. But under Homestead Act, can't she stay in that house till she dies?
She can claim an interest in the house. Yes, absolutely. Because she's the house was. I'm not sure how the house was purchased, but as the surviving spouse, there are certain rights that she has upon the death of that spouse. So that's when there's a second marriage, especially, and there's children, not just children, regardless. For the first and second marriages, I would strongly advise an attorney to take a look at your estate plan.
Very much so. All right, 1248. We're going to take a break. We've got open lines right now at 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696, or text us at 21232, 21232. You're listening to Law 2020, brought your way by the BCN Law Firm. We'll be back. Welcome back. This is Law 2020 featuring the attorneys from the BCN Law Firm. And don't forget, if you go to their website, that would be bcnlawfirm.com, there are videos of this program. And everybody's on camera but me and Tim, because we are camera shy. They don't let us on TV at all. But anyhow, we welcome your calls at 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696. Text us at 21232. The contact numbers for the BCN Law Firm are 352-394-2103 or 855-LAW-2020. 855-LAW-2020. And several attorneys. Heath, how many attorneys are with the firm now?
We have 10 attorneys, Bob.
Okay, 10 attorneys, and the offices are Winter Park, Claremont, Lakeland, and the newest office, and I think the best office, is right there in the Villages, just about 5 minutes from my office. I think that's absolutely great.
It's a great location. We're very, very excited to be in the Villages now. It's a great place to be.
It's nothing like having to make a choice for lunch, right? 168 somewhere restaurants.
It's amazing up there. It really is.
It's like, where are we going to eat? I don't know. Anyway, all right, let's get back to something. We were talking about title companies and attorneys attending closings. Just my opinion. This is the host opinion only. I really would like to see an attorney go over everything and be right there with me at the closing, answering every question and looking at every document. So what are the differences between an attorney and a title company? I know they're both well respected in the community and they're both all good business people, but what does each bring to the table?
They're both very respected in the community. And I guess the important thing is when people think about hiring an attorney to come to their closing, they think they're going to be out all of this money. That's simply not the case. We're just comparable with what a title agency is going to charge you in their transaction. I guess the main difference is after high school, attorneys have gone to school for at least 7 years. Some have gone additional years and got different licenses. So there's much more experience educationally and scholastically than title companies have. And another huge difference is that Florida attorneys are governed by the Florida Bar. There's no other group that I know of that is so closely monitored than attorneys are. And if you do something wrong, even marginally wrong, the Florida Bar is going to be right there, right on top of you, investigating you. Potentially if you do something very badly wrong, you could lose your license, and that's your livelihood. So the long and the short of it, our attorneys are not willing to take that chance, and law firms are going to be around typically. And you see a lot of title companies, especially when the economy is good. Back in the heyday when people were building like crazy, there was title companies popping up all over the place. And I cannot tell you how many of those title companies are still here today. Very few. A lot of them go bankrupt. You just never see them again. And that's not the same with a law firm. So if you did have a problem, that law firm is going to be there. Title companies may not.
We plan to be part of the community for the next 30, 50, 100 years, so we're not going anywhere.
Okay, real good. Let's go to Kay in Orlando. Kay, what's your question for our panel from the BCN Law Firm?
Hello, everybody. I'm Kay. A family member is in foreclosure, and he has filed a counterclaim claiming that they use deceptive and predatory sales practices, and he's trying to get phone conversations. He has recorded them, but it's indicating the person who's talking and what they said, but he cannot get those. He figures he better get the Freedom of Information Act and get their records. But then I thought maybe he could, like in my cousin Vinny, he didn't know about the discovery. He could actually make them produce the phone records because they're the ones that made them. And he's doing a good job. He's representing himself. You know, Abe Lincoln says he's got a fool for a client, but he's doing it. He has no money. I'm trying to keep it simple, but my question is, can he file a petition to the court to request them to produce their own phone records?
Well, first of all, in the state of Florida, if someone's recording a phone conversation without the other person's consent, that's illegal. So I don't know. Is this person that's filed the counterclaim? Did they have an attorney? Are they going pro se?
Going pro se, and he's filed a counterclaim, and he knows that. So that's why he's asking that if he can petition the court to make them produce their phone records.
Absolutely. They filed a lawsuit and they made that a counterclaim. Then they can go through the discovery process, and they have to produce evidence of this. And if it's illegally obtained evidence, then it's not admissible. But they cannot rely on this information without producing to the other side that information that they have. I mean, that's just fair play. If they can't produce it, then you can't go along with that line of questioning, and the courts will strike down that defense or the counterclaim that they're making. I would strongly recommend you having an attorney take a look at it.
$1,500. He has no money. He's 50, almost 60 years old. He's disabled, and he's trying to defend his family home that he bought when his dad died, and he is the one filing a counterclaim against the bank.
Okay, so it's your friend, or I'm sorry, your son. Your son's filing the counterclaim against the bank.
Yeah, because of foreclosure.
Right. Okay, so
and
then
they lied to him, and they sold him a bill of goods, encouraged him to do things that put him in harm's way, and, put him in jeopardy. And so he can produce records that he has them. But, when they call you, they always say to you, well, we're going to record this conversation for training and security purposes.
Of course.
So we know they have the records. My question is, can he file a petition to the court to force them to produce their records, since it's the ones he has are illegal, because he probably didn't tell him, I'm recording you.
Okay, yes, he can. It's called a request to produce, and he can ask for all the documents, recordings, anything in their possession, and they've got to provide it back to him.
Okay, thank you so much for the call. If you need further advice from the law firm, it's 352-394-2103, or go to bcnlawfirm.com. Here's a text. Can you add people to the title of a house so it does not have to go through probate? And I'm going to add to that question, what's the difference between a deed and a title?
Well, usually when you think of title, it's like when you do title work, you do a background search on this piece of property, make sure it's clear of liens, make sure it's clear of encumbrances, make sure there's no huge roadway that goes through the middle of your house, that sort of thing. That just clears up your title. A deed is what conveys the property to person, and I'm trying to make it short. But yes, you can absolutely, after the fact, add people to the title. You need to have the original title holders who are on that deed. They're going to have to sign on that deed to add the new people onto that deed to avoid probate. And a lot of people, and I would definitely encourage that, a lot of people do have deeds go to other parties so that they can avoid probate.
Thank you all so much. Great show. Super show today. We'll see you all next week.